Alright, we're vlogging. Welcome. Camera tweak, what did I do differently? Well, I'm standing up now, and this is... I don't have the mic on me, so you... my voice is super low. I don't have the mic on me, so you can't hear me swallow so loud, and I'm just trying a whole thing where I'm standing up and my notes are like on a desk below me. So we'll see if that works. I don't know if I like the down the nostrils angle, though. Everything else is on auto. I took my camera out and did some... I went to the LA Marathon, tried to take some pictures, and it just sucked. I don't know what happened. Maybe I got in my head a little bit, but I just... Like, all I was there to do was just hang out and take pictures, and I sucked. I took, like, 3,000 pictures, and I'm still culling them, but I'm down to, like, 200, and they're all just... They suck. I might get like one keeper out of the whole batch because I was not good and I don't know what happened. But such is what happens. So I'm interested. I kind of like how the mic is off. Although, see, maybe we'll back the frame up a little bit. That might be the move. Maybe drop it down a little bit. Maybe like that. I think that makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, so turns out when your head's not in the game, you suck. Did I write this week? Kind of. I have one more script I have to turn in for my portfolio before I graduate to get workshopped. So I still need to rewrite all of my stuff, including my screenplay, which I'm a little concerned about because screenplays take so long to rewrite. But the last thing I have to turn in, I went through it to make sure it's ready for the workshop. It's ready. It's on like draft 8 or 9, so there's not a whole lot I could improve on it at this point. Like I'm not seeing any improvements, so it's either ready or I'm so in it that it doesn't matter and it sucks. Come on, I'm losing my voice. Okay, so did I write just my script that I'm gonna throw into a workshop soon? Did I read? I read some workshop stuff. Nothing to report. Like nothing. I'm not reading I have the link that the LA TV Writers Facebook group has put out that has all the pilots for the season. I have the link. I haven't opened it yet. I should go ahead and just download those scripts just because they'll go away soon. Might have already, but it's good to read the pilots. That might be my next step once I have like time to myself, which will be at the end of May. So when it doesn't matter anymore, that's when I'll probably start going through the pilots because it's good to know what's out there. What did I watch? Well, I was the only person in the world who went and saw Tomb Raider. It wasn't very good. That actress, Alicia Vikander, or whatever her name is incredible. She won an Oscar a couple years ago for The Danish Girl. She's a force, but the actual Tomb Raider, it seemed like a movie that would have come out about the time the Angelina Jolie movie came out. It was just the point of view on being a girl and the point of view on being a daughter with daddy issues, and it's just it was a really dated story. It was a really forgettable, dated story that, I mean, one of the hallmarks of Tomb Raider is like code breaking and sort of James Bond style action chases, and the code breaking just about didn't make sense, and the James Bond style action chases just seemed underwhelming. I mean, I don't know. It's not too bad because I don't think anybody was expecting another Tomb Raider movie to come out, but I'm one of those nerds though who did play Tomb Raider, and so every time people bring up Tomb Raider and they're like, it's inherently sexist because just the character itself just is this large-breasted, skinny-waisted character with booty shorts, and yeah, that's 100% true. Devil's nerd advocate here. the reason originally Tomb Raider looked like that was because it was a 64-bit PlayStation and you really couldn't get a lot of fine detail. And so a man was just straight up and down and a girl was pointy. And unfortunately that's a sexist place to start, but I think that was in the context of what they were trying to do back then was kind of a clever move. Because they made a girl hero just based on the fact that it's like the Mario argument. The reason Mario looks the way he does is because in the 8-bit world, 1 block was pants, 2 blocks was a shirt, 2 blocks for a head. And so that's why he's so simplistically designed. That doesn't forgive the sexist stuff that makes Tomb Raider a chesty, skinny chick, but, you know. Anyway, what else did I watch? I keep watching Final Space, that cartoon on TBS, hoping it goes better. It's the characters. It's the voice acting of the characters specifically that I don't like. I figured out. Because the story's really cool and the story's evolving and it is a really robust Star Wars-esque universe that they live in. But the campy, broad humor and just over-the-top character stuff, it doesn't ring. It feels like it's the Orville situation, that Seth MacFarlane show, where he basically wanted to do Star Trek, but he can't help himself, and it's Star Trek that happens to be Family Guy. I think it's too many. It's too many gimmicks. I think that's what's going on. I think the Orville, and then to a lesser extent, Final Space. The space aspect of it is such a robust idea that putting a gimmick on it muddles it a little bit. And I think for Final Space they're very close. I think they just need to tone back the silliness a little bit, and then it would make more sense. Because the details of the world and all of the nerdy stuff, pretty satisfying. The idea that he's a prisoner on a ship and all he does is just clean the ship, and it's an empty ship, and he has an army of robots just enforcing his prison time ambivalently, it's a really charming idea. It's reminds me of like Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide quite a bit. There's just a goofiness that rings false to me. So obviously he has a show and he's making the dough, so and he's getting great stars on it. Fred Armisten's on it. I feel like everybody in comedy that's working has done a voice on that show already, which I'm clearly wrong about something because everybody's jumping on. So, I don't know if I watched anything else. Survivor, but that's just because my bros watch Survivor and that's our thing. And we have a fantasy league, and I don't honestly remember who I drafted, and I can't remember any of the people in Survivor. That's how forgettable these people are. So, yeah. Did I watch anything else? I feel like I watched something else. Out of the corner of my eye, I watched half an episode of LA to Vegas, which is that single camera Fox sitcom about passengers and crew flying the LA to Vegas weekend route. It's a bummer because I think I mentioned this before. It's a bummer because that is the script I came out here with. Like I had that idea, except instead of LA to Vegas, which is a much more clever idea, mine was just a regional airline that went Boise to Spokane or something. But it was the same idea. It was such a small group of people that it was 2 flight crews and then the same dozen passengers. They did a better job. So LA to Vegas did a much better job. Also, it's been made. So, okay, writing tip. Characters need to change. There's been an argument that in sitcoms characters don't need to change because you're hitting the reset button every time in like a traditional multi-camera show. But I would say Friends, probably the most successful sitcom that we can remember, they changed. They changed in a small amount because it was a billion episodes a season. But at the beginning, they were in their early 20s with very obscure, unbelievable jobs. And by the end, they were in their early 30s with marriages and kids and real jobs. And so at some point, they changed. And I think that may be a reason why Friends did so well, because the characters did evolve, and as we learn more about them, it changed their paths. Their paths, changed from what we expected. Feature screenplays, this is especially important because you only have X amount of time for the entire thing, the entire world, the entire character change, all of it is contained. In a show, it's a little less specific because it's little tiny changes from episode to episode. Breaking Bad being the exception, where I feel like there's a huge character change almost every episode, and it's connected to the escalation of the episode. But in the simplest way, and again, writing a pilot, this is why it's so tricky, because writing a pilot, you need to set up norms, but you also need to set up that this is the way the character started, and the character is going to change from that. Which is why I think that's a reason why pilots are so tough. But you do need to, in your pilot, be writing a character that by the end of that pilot has started in one place and has changed enough that it's a memorable, satisfying story and not an anecdote. It's not a moment. It's an experience. You were able to track the character from one headspace that we established to a new headspace that is revealed. And if you don't do it, it's not satisfying. Easier said than done, but I would say the way I tend to have luck with character changing by the end is doing at least one major pass, especially in the outline, but definitely once the script is written, tracking the headspace of the character moment to moment. Because the character should always be evolving in their headspace, especially if you have a place in mind that they need to be by the end of the episode, which you usually do. In my case, the guy starts out as an asshole. In the middle, he realizes that he can't do it anymore, and then at the end, he finally seeks help. And that's an enormous change for a pilot, but it also, based on the logic of the world, maybe that is a satisfying enough change, even though that seems like a lot now that I say it out loud. But there is a change there. So track the changes. You don't want your characters to be the same the whole time, because then they're not characters, they're caricatures. It's a sketch. So box office. I had some bad luck at the box office this weekend. So number one was Black Panther. Makes sense. Number two is Tomb Raider. And I saw it with the other 8 people. Number 3, I said A Wrinkle in Time, and that movie about that Christian rock song, I Can Only Imagine, got number 3, which completely blew up my plan. So I screwed up 3, 4, and 5 because I said Wrinkle in Time, Love, Simon, Game Night, and it was I Can Only Imagine, Wrinkle in Time, Love, Simon. So I always forget that the Christian audience, in the same way the Tyler Perry audience goes out and sees the Tyler Perry movie, the Christian audience shows up for the Christian movie. In this case, I don't feel so bad because I watch everything, and I saw the trailer for I Can Only Imagine like the day before it came out. So somehow in my walking through life, I just didn't come across it in a meaningful way, but clearly not the audience. So congratulations to I Can Only Imagine for making a hilarious amount of money on such a small budget. You can't fault them for that. This week, Pacific Rim is coming out, which I have mixed feelings about because I loved the first one. I loved it when I saw the first trailer of the first one. I loved the movie, even though the movie is deeply flawed, especially in character motivation and story. If you've seen the movie, then this makes sense. Swords. If you haven't seen the movie, me saying the phrase swords pretty much solves whatever question you had just by watching the trailer. Why I have a problem with that movie. But satisfying movie though, because the idea was, like the core of the idea was, what if you, by some way, were able to share the mind with somebody else, and then the extension of that is, what if you had to experience someone else's death in real time? And that's the idea behind the first Pacific Rim. The young guy experiences in real time his older brother's death because they were linked together in this robot. And the rest of the movie is him figuring out how to reconcile that and then trying to let somebody else in physically into his own mind. A really interesting idea. Kind of awkward how it played out, and obviously paired up with giant robots fighting giant monsters, which is kind of fun, I gotta be honest. But the second movie I'm not so enthusiastic about because we lost Guillermo del Toro, who just won an Oscar for Best Picture, by the way. I think Best Screenplay, too. I don't know. But they kicked him out and they put somebody else in, and it's definitely just like a sequel. So nothing about this new movie seems like they learned the lessons from the old movie. Except for giant robots fighting giant monsters, which was arguably the least satisfying part of the movie for me. Visually, it was by far the most satisfying part, but I think somehow they cherry-picked 3/5 of what was good about the first movie and put it in the second movie. But I'm going to go watch it because I really liked the first movie. So I think it's going to be number 1. Number 2 is going to be Black Panther. Number 3 is going to be Sherlock Gnomes, which, whatever that is. Number 4 is going to be I Can Only Imagine, about the band with the god, and number 5 is going to be Tomb Raider. So Pacific Rim, Black Panther, Sherlock Gnomes, I Can Only Imagine, Tomb Raider. Again, I'm not shooting this on Friday because I found an opportunity to do this right now on Thursday. I hope Pacific Rim is good. I know it's not going to be good, and it's really only expected to gross $28 million in the first movie. Let me see how well the first movie did, because that would be interesting. The Pacific Rim, the first one, just came out of nowhere, basically. I mean, it had a really good marketing ramp up, but let's see here. Opening weekend, $37 million. So this new one is expected to gross $10 million less than that, and $37 million is not a lot. So who knows? But honestly, you're not gonna get giant robots fighting giant monsters in a useful way on television because it's too expensive of an idea. So it has to be a film. So you got to go bigger. You got to go home with these kind of movies. And yeah. All right, keep writing. I should too.